one of the most popular motorsports in the world, dirt track racing. And in today's edition of Hometown History, some of the pioneers of dirt track racing in Northeast Nebraska, they're being honored with a Hall of Fame induction, as well as a museum full of memorabilia in Norfolk, Nebraska.
First, I was afraid there wouldn't be enough stuff to fill it. Then we started getting so much stuff, I'm like, where are we going to put it all?
Troy Wyrick is president of the Northeast Nebraska Motorsports Hall of Fame. He and more than a dozen other members have created this temporary exhibit at Norfolk's Elkhorn Valley Museum, honoring the third group of inductees into the Hall of Fame with some cars, gear, and racing awards that go back into the early 1970s.
For me, these are my heroes.
Larry Hockemeyer raced for 17 years, eventually competing against a driver he admired as a youngster.
At that time, I got to watch this guy right here, Jerry Sir, race, and he became my favorite. We've lost a few racetracks through the years and stuff, so now you have to drive a little bit farther, but it's still, there's a lot of sellout crowds. When they have some sort of a special, it's the place to be.
This sprint car was last driven by Ron Lingenfelter's late brother. Ron spent years helping with it, even being on the pit crew.
All hours of the night, and it just was, at that time, a lot of work, but boy, it couldn't replace the memories for anything.
Lingenfelter, who later raced himself, helped restore the car and made it street legal for parades and car shows, sometimes catching the attention of law enforcement when he asked to drive it on the highway.
He says, I didn't have any reason to pull you over other than I couldn't believe you were driving this.
And the racing helmet of the late Kurt Zulke of Bancroft, Nebraska, is safely enclosed in a clear case.
It actually has the dirt on the helmet from the last time he raced. It's very meaningful to the Zulke family, and it should be very interesting for race fans to come check out.
There are 5 new inductees into this year's Hall of Fame class, and past tributes show how much it can mean.
We saw tears from some of the guys. We had people come in from Florida and other parts of the country.
And for the next few weeks, this exhibit honors them and the many others involved in the dirt track racing community.
Go down memory lane. I think that's what I want people to realize when they come here.
The Northeast Nebraska Motorsports Hall of Fame is inducting its third class of honorees next Saturday evening, October the 12th. That ceremony takes place at the Knights of Columbus Hall in Norfolk.